One. Welcome, everybody. My name is Aida Farhat. Welcome to Conscious Heart Solutions. I want to invite my guests, Brandy Coleman and Blayne. How do you pronounce your last name? Lannan?
Lannan, yeah.
Okay, very good. Welcome both these wonderful people. I've known Blayne and Brandy outside of doing this interview, and they're two people that I highly respect and admire. I'm going to share a quick mission statement that Brandy sent to me, and then I'm going to give Brandy and Blayne an opportunity to introduce themselves, a little bit about their history and where they're at today and what they're doing for humanitarian work. So Blayne and Brandy live in a community of peace-loving patriots, assisting humanity in rediscovering the lost connection with the earth and others. They both partnered up with local VA hospital to assist local VA hospital near where their community is, assisting local veterans who have suffered from trauma and PTSD by using a model in permaculture and self-sustainability, teaching them trades and skills by using alternative healing modalities such as sound healing and assisting them in integrating back into civilization, back into the community, society. Okay, so Brandy, welcome.
Thank you, Aida.
Thank you. I know this was, I appreciate you being willing to do the show with me on such short notice. So we really didn't get too prepared for it, but that's okay. Everything will be shared naturally, and hopefully we'll reach a lot of hearts and people will hear this and maybe have some inspiration by you and Blayne to also look into building communities where they live or get involved. So can you share a little bit about your history and what's brought you where you're at today?
Sure. As Aida said, my name's Brandy. I was born and raised in Jacksonville, Florida, and spent my entire life there until recently. I am an occupational therapy assistant by trade. I kind of left the medical field due to the politics that are involved. Things just kind of got out of control the way it's not patient-centered anymore. So I've kind of phased my way out of the healthcare system, and I'm working more on natural modalities such as health, wellness, and life coaching and things like that. In January of 2019, prior to January of 2019, I was very unhealthy, caught up in big pharma. I had a primary care physician who was prescribed happy, and instead of trying to find root cause of illness or dis-ease, he was quick to prescribe a medication. That led to me being on almost 20 different prescription medications for various things such as diabetes or high blood sugar. I'll put it as high blood sugar, rapid heart rate, restless leg syndrome, hormone imbalance, you name it. I was diagnosed with it and I was on a prescription medication for it. And in January of 2019, being on those prescription medications, a combination caused me to throw a blood clot, which thankfully decided to get stuck in my big toe instead of going to my heart or my brain or my lungs and causing a heart attack or stroke. But being in the hospital and being in that much pain due to that blood clot kind of threw me into my spiritual awakening or dark night of the soul. And I first woke up to big pharma and big agra and the commercial meat and dairy industries and things like that. So waking up to that was a big shock, which led me down a path of health and wellness. I've lost about 100 pounds in just a very few short years. Just by changing my diet, I was able to get myself off all of those prescription medications just by changing my diet. So today, 100 pounds less, 0 prescription medications, all natural diet. I've eliminated as many chemicals from my life as I can. Try to use all natural products, just started making my own sunscreens and tinctures and things like that. So because of that awakening, it kind of started my dream of self-sustainability and, you know, growing my own food organically and raising my own animals. So it's clean meat, and I know how they're treated and how they're cared for, etc. And finally stepped out of fear and stepped into making this a reality. And here I am now sitting on a self-sustained farm, helping veterans and eating fresh vegetables out of my garden and clean meat that we've raised since they were babies, and some of them were bottle fed. So yeah, that's how I got here.
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I know a little bit of your history.
Yeah.
So you were sharing about your toe, and I remember Brandy hasn't mentioned that she facilitated women's circles and using plant medicine for healing and healing traumas that we've experienced in either it could be past lives or this life or and she shared the story with me about her issue with her toe and the medical having to be rushed to the hospital and so forth. But I will say, I've been to her home and I've eaten some of her homemade vegan food, which is pretty amazing, and always felt welcomed and really enjoyed learning from her and sharing and engaging, because we have while our situation and circumstances are different, the feelings and some of the traumas nonetheless were still very much related and
Absolutely.
common. Yeah. So Blayne, do you mind sharing a little bit with the audience about you and just a short bio, whatever you feel called to share, so that people can get a feel for your background and who you are and what you're doing now?
Most importantly for me, I'm a recovering addict, alcoholic. Been battling with addiction for a long, long time, and now in pretty solid recovery. I've had some time, so that's a critical piece. Well, it's the most important piece in my life. I was born in Montana, and I was raised between Wyoming and Alaska. I graduated from high school in 1985, and 2 days later found myself at Army basic training. Initially, I spent my first 4 years in Hawaii in the 25th Infantry Division on their long-range surveillance team, essentially collecting intelligence, collecting human intelligence. I was a human intelligence gatherer in a military intelligence battalion, performing a special operations mission.
Wow.
So I did that for a period of time, and then I spent time in an Army National Guard unit in Alaska, and then Washington State, and then after 9/11, I got back in the National Guard and just post 9/11 in support of 9/11. So I got back in for a period of time, total of about 9 years. On July 1st, 2007, and there's a whole bunch of backstory before that. I'll add that after I got out of the military, I got my degree in psychology, and so I have a background in counseling and psychology, as well as law enforcement. I did some corrections in law enforcement for a period of time, and investigation stuff too, counter narcotics stuff, and investigation stuff for the state of Washington.
So can I ask you, when you say counter narcotics, are you suggesting like behind the scenes or undercover type work? Is that what?
Yes, surveillance, intelligence, and surveillance gathering. It was when I was doing that. It was in the late '90s and the early 2000s. In Pierce County, Washington, was one of the. I don't know if I would say. Well, it was production at that point. So Pierce County, Washington, which is essentially Tacoma, and its rural areas, was one of the worst methamphetamine areas in the United States. So that's what I was doing at that time.
So were you
During that time,
were you struggling with addiction yourself during the time this was taking place?
Absolutely, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I was a full blown addict by the time I was 18. I was just a super functional addict for many years until I wasn't. And so so I did that for a while, and working in that field gave me working in military intelligence gave me a good working knowledge of how those systems operate, and then working counter narcotics, it gave me a good pulse on how that system operates in this country, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? And so, in terms of how I got here, I was never really interested in anything to do. I had no interest. At the time of my awakening, I was working as a car salesman in Olympia, Washington, making a whole bunch of money and had a whole bunch of stuff, and was remarkably unhappy for the amount of shit that I had. Stuff, I'm sorry. So I started a meditation practice, and within a couple of months, I had this awakening that literally changed my consciousness about pretty much everything that I had been taught and told up to that point. It's a long story, and it's multifaceted, but the bottom line for me is that my world was turned upside down overnight. The first thing that I became aware of was how the military-industrial complex operates within the establishment, and how 9/11 fit into that. And so that was my first rabbit hole that I went down. And that really, learning what I learned by diving down that rabbit hole, because of the time that I had spent in the military, and because how connected I was to that mindset, I struggled, man. That was a hard one to accept. And you know, it's like waking up and learning that maybe the food that we've been eating for the past 20 years with all the chemicals in it isn't the best for you. So it was that experience through everything that I've woken up to. But
So quickly, because you're referring to 9/11 as if everybody adopts the same belief that it was an inside job, and that we know that it was a false flag, and it was a huge false flag. More bigger than that, it was a ritual.
All of that.
Right. So we're in unison about that, and definitely agree that these things are a real, or what we're sharing about them is our belief that is an actual real happening that took place.
Sure.
Under the guise of an explosion by a plane that hit what the mainstream media portrays.
Right.
So what is it exactly that you're suggesting right now is my point. What is it that you're saying? Are you suggesting that 9/11 was an inside job and so forth and so on? Is that what you
Yeah, I personally believe that George H.W. Bush was the lead conspirator in that event. That's just me. But I've been researching this stuff for 14 years. Um, and uh, lots of things that I've researched that have been termed conspiracy theories in the past 14 years have have proven to be true. So
Right.
that's all I'm going to say about that. Um, but I point to that as an illustration of this shift of consciousness or awakening that I had, and that ultimately led me to where I am today, and probably to the biggest degree. One of the books that I read very early on in my awakening was a book called Above All Be Kind, and I can't remember the author. And it was presented to me by my life coach at the time, as a tool for helping to raise mindful children and kind children. And so that's initially why I got it, to work with my kids. And there was a section in this book that talked about the mass produced meat industry and the kill practices. Um, and as I read through this book, like, it's making me emotional right now. As I read through this book and learned how they put these animals down, like I stopped eating meat for 2 years. I didn't touch meat. Um, so it was about that time that something within me developed, that I saw that we were straying away from, like, knowing where our food comes from, knowing what's in our food, um, blindly eating this stuff and not having an awareness of what potentially might be in it. Um, and that goes for food and water and medicine and everything that we put in and on our bodies. And so as I've read and researched throughout the years, it seems that a lot of these mainstream products, have things in them that cause us problems. Um, and so, for example, food, uh, like literally overnight, it was, I was taking my son to McDonald's every week for Playland and a Happy Meal, to, we're never eating this shit again.
Right.
And my food bill, like, quadrupled overnight. And at the time, I was making a bunch of money, and so it wasn't a huge issue. But I acknowledge and am aware that the average American mom and dad can't afford to feed their family organic food.
Right.
And so I question that too. Why is that food so expensive that normal people can't afford it? And so food, being attached to a 9 to 5 job, um, so that I can collect a bunch of things that I can't take with me, over the years got less and less important. Um, and for me, I started on a path of minimalism back in 2015. And so
So when you say minimal,
and
you're talking about,
finally, for me, in terms of motivation, uh, I've seen a lot of veterans struggle, um, and with medication and counseling and all the traditional models and modalities for traditional therapy and treatment don't seem to have as much efficacy as they could have. But when we take veterans and we get them out in nature where most of them feel super comfortable anyway, and get them reconnected with some farm animals and some plants and bees and just nature, you know. Um,
Well, I've
it's very
seen you on
it's very
Facebook. Just
therapeutic.
yeah, very real quick because I try not to interrupt my guests, but I definitely want to respond to
Yeah,
some things
Absolutely.
that you're sharing, and I give you much credit, Blayne, for. I mean, I've talked to you. I've only met you a couple times prior to you and Brandy deciding to leave, and I can tell, and just feeling into your energy, I know that you're coming from a earnest place where change, you know, really wanting to be a example for other veterans and offer, you know, or at least guide them to resources for assisting them in their own healing and trauma and so forth. So that's fabulous.
yeah.
And we need more of that. And I'm hoping, you know, we'll complete this interview today, but I would definitely love to have y'all back maybe in a couple months to talk about more, you know, as things shift, because I have a question for you, and I don't want to get too deep into this, but are you familiar with My Lab, Super Soldier programs at My Lab? So
Yeah.
so maybe another time, because I'm gonna really try to stick to the topic of what we agreed. But
Yeah.
do you feel that you were used or part of the Super Soldier or My Lab through the military?
I had a really bizarre. I can't even describe. I can't even articulate it in words. I had an event happen to me um, while on a training deployment in North Queensland, Australia, in 1987 or 88 that I still can't make sense of. Um, Something happened. I don't know what, but no, I don't think I was.
Okay, fair
Okay.
enough. I'm surely not trying to suggest that you were, or you know, uh, lead you into that. You know, just I wasn't sure because I never really talked to you about that, and I definitely know I was.
Yeah.
And I'm past that until other things. You know, I deal with things as they show up for me. Of course,
Sure.
my coping skills are much different now,
Sure.
right? Because when we clean our bodies out, and we start detoxing, and we start eating healthy, and we start doing the things like what you guys are presenting here, we feel better. And when we invest in ourselves, we make better choices for ourselves,
Sure.
right? And we, so the value that we hold for ourselves changes in a big way when we start loving and nurturing ourselves and choosing, you know, to put ourselves first, not in an egotistical, grandiose way, but to say, no, wait a minute. I need to focus on myself. I need to go inward. I need to take the time out to integrate and heal and process. And I know Brandy's been on this journey for a long time, and I'm hearing more about your story now, which I think is absolutely amazing. So let's shift the conversation a little bit before we got about 15 minutes before break. But so what was your background like growing up? What type of background was your parents, and how many did you have siblings? Did you grow up around drugs and alcohol? What led you into um because I was going to ask Brandy too. She didn't share too much, and I didn't want to push it because I didn't know if you were ready to talk about
Yeah,
that, Brandy. But
I'm super transparent about my story.
Me too.
okay,
I will share that in 2002, September 19th, 2002, I think, uh, I I was a member of a multi-agency narcotics task force in Pierce County, Washington, and I decided to pick up a piece of crack cocaine during a drug bust, and that took me on a 3-year battle with that drug. So I'll share that with your viewers. No, my early on, In my younger life, my pop was a bit heavy-handed, um, but there wasn't abuse, a ton of abuse. Um, I think I had some trauma from a my biological father, like dipping out. He came back from Vietnam all messed up. Um, he's an addict. He's still in active addiction. I don't speak to him. Um, my biological father, uh, but I was raised by two loving parents. I have one sibling, brother. He's 12 years my junior. He's a West Point graduate, um, top of his class, uh, medical doctor, also top of his class in med school, and me. And I imagine that he experimented with things, but for whatever reason, I think I got the gene because everything I ever picked up in terms of substance, I loved. I loved the feeling of being able to change my reality. I heard somebody speak last night about addicts. It was actually at a meeting, and it resonated a lot. Addicts are. This was her theory that we're super hyper feeling and emotional people, and we're also, at least for me, I feel like I'm super connected to the collective, so I feel that collective pain more than most. And I, in talking to other addicts, that seems to be a common theme. Um, so to answer your question, uh, it wasn't like in my face. I didn't have alcoholic parents. I had a normal middle class upbringing. I just found solace in substances from a very early age. And certainly part of that may have been dealing with a dad that didn't know how to deal with his emotions very well at 18 years old, like most 18-year-olds or 19-year-olds. Um, but my disease just continued to progress and develop over the years. I would stop for a while and then I would pick up again, and it would pick up right where it left off. It never got better.
I get it.
Mhm.
I absolutely get it. I mean, I have had definitely my challenges in this lifetime and other lifetimes with yeah. And so it's whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, food, shopping, anything that takes us outside of ourselves to change the way we feel rather than sitting in our feelings and processing and coping and healing, integrating whatever those words that that we seem to use in the spiritual community and the healing path often really what worked for me, because I broke programming without a doubt. I mean, I was told that as well. So once I broke programming, uh, the desire and the urge flee. It and I'm so thankful because I did, like you, went back and forth many years, get clean, had, and it was all about me not wanting to sit with my own darkness, my own trauma, my own, and uh continuing to blame everything outside of myself. Because
So,
when that's what we see, uh our whether whoever it is that's influencing our beautiful little lives growing up, we get influenced by what we see. Children mock what they see. And of course, when it has a what's the word? I don't know if I want to use a or I'm sorry, a chemical process that takes place in the brain and in the body from trauma and our extrasensory, um, our nerve endings, the things that feel good to us, what gives us charge and wanting to escape and continuing to go after that quick fix, be it sex, drugs, food, whatever it is. If I even said that correctly, I was looking for a particular word, but I'm sure people are getting what I'm saying. I mean,
Absolutely.
Brandy, why don't you share a little bit about your history? Because it's pretty, I mean, both your, two different backgrounds, but very profound for sure.
Yeah.
Because, yeah,
My childhood was filled with alcohol, drugs, and trauma. Um, wow. So, my biological mom gave me up for adoption at birth. Uh, so she didn't want to have a child. One thing I'm learning about now is womb trauma.
yes.
So I do know now that I have a lot of womb trauma that I am working on healing, because I was carried around by a woman for 9 months who did not want me in her body. And that is damaging. Um, when I was just a baby, my biological mom kidnapped me and traded me for drugs. Um, then I went on to deal with sexual abuse for my entire childhood and extreme bullying throughout my school years. And because of those things, I started numbing myself at a very young age, too. I took my first drink at 10 years old. I was doing inhalants shortly thereafter, anything from gasoline to brake cleaner. Surprised I still have some brain cells left in there.
You're
um,
extremely intelligent, so, and I
then,
know that you're pretty amazing, but go ahead.
thank
Yes.
you. My biological grandmother adopted me when I was born, and her and I had one of the closest relationships that I've ever had with another human being to this day. And I lost her to cancer in 1999, and that's when my drug addiction and my alcohol abuse took a downward spiral. I was working in bars and in the adult entertainment industry, and drugs are like, it's like a candy store, free booze and drugs all night long. Um, so throughout that drug abuse, of course, it's a progressive illness. It gets worse, never better. And I ended up homeless for a year or so, living on the streets of Jacksonville. I went from one relationship to another. I was seeking out any way to numb all of this stuff that was going on inside of me from all of this trauma, all this unresolved trauma that I had no clue there was a way to heal from. So yeah, that my drug addiction led me to some very deep and dark places, caused me to do things and hurt people that I am still trying to repair today. And I've not touched drugs since 2007. I did relapse on alcohol, but I have not drank since 2015. So um, it's really hard to make those living amends sometimes, because we hurt people so bad, and sometimes people just finally give up on us. But the only thing that we can do is keep doing the next right thing and try to be a better person tomorrow than I was today. So yeah, drugs and alcohol and trauma were a major part of the major majority of my life. In 2019, I had a friend of mine mention the word ayahuasca, because she knew from me sharing my story in Alcoholics Anonymous, she knew that the trauma that I had experienced, and had heard a lot of things about how ayahuasca helped heal from trauma, help people heal from trauma. So I started doing research and read about 6, 7, 8 books and was just absolutely blown away at what I was reading, and felt as if this is what I had been searching for my entire life. I had been in and out of therapy with psychiatrists and therapists and mental health counselors since I was a young kid, because of all the trauma. And I never felt as if it was doing anything. In fact, I believe as a young child, my talk therapy caused more trauma than helped, due to the fact that I was a young child going and talking to a stranger about all of these terrible things that were done to me by this man, um, thinking that I'm telling the therapist this in secrecy, in confidentiality, and she would turn around and tell my parents. So I have big issue with trust. Um, so I really think that the talk therapy, psychiatrist, and all of that caused a little more trauma than helped. So yeah, I started reading all these books. Found ayahuasca and was like, oh my God, this is going to be the miracle cure. But how do I get to Peru? Because that's where it's from. And I was, quite blind, really, not knowing anything about it. So through a series of events, I was introduced to this young lady who ended up facilitating my first psilocybin ceremony for healing, and she put me in contact with some people. And in July of 2019, I was sitting with ayahuasca for the first time.
Nice.
And I can truly tell you that I have experienced more healing in the past 2 years through my plant medicine journey than I have all of my life with talk therapy and Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous, and, through all avenues that I tried these past 2 years, I have experienced more healing than I have in my entire life. And it's beautiful.
I think it has everything to do with diving deep within,
Yep.
taking that journey into your own consciousness and your own soul self.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've experienced a lot of things. I mean, even, I've not done plant medicine to the extent that you have, but the few times that I've done, I just realized that, and they were helpful for sure. But I think I had already done everything I could. And now it's kind of just more of a natural thing for me to sit still and just get silent. And I'm not a huge meditator, so I will not claim that I sit for hours in meditation. What I do is when I feel anxious, or I'm having a lot of racing thoughts, that I just breathe and I sit still and I sit through it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm not perfect at that. I recently quit smoking cigarettes. So did you?
Yeah.
Yes. That's huge for me because yeah, like you. I mean, I was a bit younger. I was 6 years old. It was give a bong, hit a pot, and I drink beer from that age up until I was, but I admire you so much, Brandy, because I mean, I've listened to other stories, I've been around you and I've heard so many of some of the things you experience, and I admire you. And I don't think people realize the depth of, well, I shouldn't say that, because there's a lot of great interviewers that are doing great work working with satanic ritual abuse survivors and trauma and so forth. And I think I don't think there's anybody on this planet that hasn't experienced mind control in one way or another.
Oh,
I don't care
absolutely.
who you are, Jesus, God, I don't care who you think you are. We all have had, yeah. And I won't even, so, yeah. So, but the goal is to really for me, continue to connect with people like yourself to get this information out there, to say, hey, wait a minute, you're not alone, and some people aren't comfortable going to AA and NA. I used to go, I was highly involved. I stopped going. I feel not that I think the program is a great program, but it's also a program, right? So for me,
Exactly.
I learned, and yeah, and I have friends today that I've known for 20, 30 years, however long, because I've been in and out, but I'm at the point where I've done enough of my own inner work, shadow work, healing, that I don't need that type of, I don't even know if I want to use the support,
Yeah.
because it's not support. It's like, I get everything that I need is already within me, and same with you and all of us. But that too can become codependency, and
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
I know when I first got into the program that was like my biggest thing is jumping into service work. So I held multiple positions in Alcoholics Anonymous, and um, I absolutely I believe that Alcoholics Anonymous taught me the tools to maintain my sobriety. But it wasn't until I started doing the inner work, the shadow work, the healing, that I started healing the traumas that caused me to drink and drug in the first place.
Well, there you go.
And
Right.
the only reason why I am not holding the positions as I did before is because of my plant medicine path. They are completely against any kind of mind altering substances, although Bill W., the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, used LSD and the belladonna effect for his spiritual awakening. And they used LSD and the belladonna effect for years in the beginning of the foundations of Alcoholics Anonymous. So, but because they frown upon it so bad, and I am an ethical person, and I do what's right, I let go of all my positions so that I was not holding them in.
I understand and I respect
Wow.
that. There's still a lot of people that I hold dear to my heart that I knew, but even that chapter of my life is now, I'm moving into a different direction, and I have to allow my
A different dimension.
or dimension. There you go. Well, that's correct. That is absolutely correct.
Absolutely.
Definitely am operating it from a different, yeah. But that doesn't mean, I often remind myself, like, we're multidimensional beings. So, it's not about, we hear a lot of, oh, can't be around because low frequency and their vibes, and I'm not, all this. I can hang out with a street corner drug dealer or the president of the United States. It doesn't matter. I can engage in conversation, and I can hold my own energetic field where I'm able to be respectful and honor everybody just where they're at. And I don't think that I'm anything special.
No.
We're all amazing, beautiful beings. Everybody's on their own journey. Everybody's at their own, place in their life lessons, and to become learned beings to the best we're capable of. But I've now learned, instead of resisting the challenges and the lessons, have learned to shift my frequency within myself to be able to look forward to the lesson and the journey, and not see it as this, big, huge thing, nor do I choose to ignore the elephant in the room any longer. Yeah. It's like, okay, so yeah, you guys are amazing.
Can I?
So let's go ahead. I'm sorry, Blayne.
You mentioned something a little, like 15 minutes ago, and you just kind of mentioned it again. One of the things that we do well here, and that I think we've lost in humanity, is community. The cliche, it takes a village. There's a lot of truth to that statement, I think.
I absolutely agree. Yes.
The next thing I thought of was right speech and authentic and transparent speech and communication. Being able to have authentic, real conversations about things that matter that we may not agree on. And instead of getting our feelings hurt and defensive because it doesn't align with our beliefs or whatever, we've lost the ability to sit across eyeball to eyeball and have those conversations. That's something that we do here every day. We have those conversations and we confront each other. And the outcome of that so far seems to be a pretty functional, authentic, loving community that
That's beautiful, Blayne.
that embraces all that.
Yeah, we're gonna take a quick 5 minute. Okay, give y'all a chance if you want coffee, tea, bathroom, whatever. And then when we come back, let's do that. Let's focus exactly like what y'all are doing there. Let's hear more about this community because I'm excited. I want to hear about it, and I'm hoping that it will ignite some hearts. Whoever takes the time to have a listen. There are people doing this all over the planet.
Everywhere.
Yes. So I want to hear more about it. And I hope to become involved in that kind of way at some point for sure. Yeah.
Can I say one thing before we go on break? Just so,
Sure.
So it's fresh in your viewer's head.
Yes.
The owner of this farm has 100 acres in near Roseburg, Oregon. It's raw land, and he's looking to collaborate with like-minded people. And I'm always looking to collaborate with like-minded people that have capital to invest in communities, or you don't necessarily have to have a shit ton of capital if you have, if you have a trade or you have anything else that you can add. So it's not inclusive, and there's all kinds of different tasks that need to be done every day on a farm. So it's pretty wide open.
Oh, that's lovely. And we're going to make sure this reaches a lot of people because,
Awesome.
we'll put contact, if it's okay, contact information for you too.
Yep.
And when I upload this to my YouTube channel, and we'll, and even I would like to talk to y'all about possibly, I'm getting where I'm ready to like pack the car and go, and not sure where I'm being led to, but I'm open because I don't know. I mean,
we'll step out of the fear and hop in your car. That's what we did.
Ultimately, that's what happened to us.
Yeah. Okay, so let's take a 5 minute, and we'll be back at 8:15. It's 8:09 right now, so we'll about 7 minutes. 8:15. I'll see y'all back here.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Oh.
Brandon, look, I got these this time yesterday. Yeah, over half that. Catch me every morning.
You buy those? You want me to heat up some more water? Onions are cut. Quinoa is cooking. My bubby is walking by here with some pep in his step. Uh-huh. Who? What? Huh? Oh, I know.
Hello there, my name is
Hey Siri, set timer for 20 minutes.
okay. 20 minutes and counting.
I'm not sure where Katie disappeared to. Normally she plays music during the break. It's okay though. We're still gonna get this out there.
I is here.
She's like, I'm here.
Okay. Well,
Whenever you're ready, my dear.
text you when I called you, and it's okay.
It's all right. Keep going. We can go on a break right now if you want. Go ahead.
No, we already did the break, Katie.
Oh,
Thank you
okay.
though.
Go ahead.
No worries. It's okay. We'll just wait for Blaine to come back, and then we'll proceed. Brandy, do you want to go ahead and start sharing a little bit about? Because
Sure, absolutely. Um,
so, where you're located? Are you there? You froze, Brandy.
I'm here. Can you
Okay.
hear me?
Yeah, now I can't. Yeah, you froze a little bit. It's okay.
You did too.
Yeah.
Um,
So where you guys are located?
so
What's the name of the project? If there's a name, and what exactly do you guys do, and who's involved, and so forth.
let's see. We are in Oregon.
Okay.
We're just a little south of Portland.
Okay.
And we're at an established self-sustained farm. They are a 501c3. They run a pantry as well. So the way that the farm started, I kind of told you this yesterday when you and I had a chat, is both the owner, husband and wife, are both veterans. The wife is a nurse. She was stationed in Iraq or Afghanistan, I'm sorry. And she was working in the ER. And while she was working, they had a 9-year-old girl come in pregnant. So we could talk about morals all day long. But her biggest thing was physiologically, how is this possible? So how is a 9-year-old child matured enough to where she can bear and carry a child? So they started doing a lot of research and found where all of the hormones are put into our food, our meats, our dairies, pretty much everything that we eat is filled with hormones. So they decided to go 100% organic. So their grocery bill went from $400 a month to $1,200 a month, which it's not possible. And that's a mortgage payment, So then they started looking for ways to eat organic, and that eventually boiled down to buying a farm and growing your own vegetables and raising your own animals. So that's how the farm started. Blayne and I were looking for an intentional community. We were looking in Hawaii for obvious reasons, but a friend of mine found this place and sent me the information. And the more that we researched the farm, the more we realized how much in alignment it is with everything that we want to do. So we get here, and I'm a city girl. I've worked desk jobs, and I moved to a farm on the side of a hill, and we farm on the hill, like there's terraces. It's terrace farming. So the first couple of weeks here, I really didn't know if I was cut out for this. It kicked my ass physically. Like, I thought I was in shape, lost 100 pounds, eat healthy, I run, I exercise, I do yoga, but no. No.
Yeah.
So for the first couple of weeks, I really wanted to throw in the towel. I spent many nights crying myself to sleep. because I was just in so much pain. My quads hurt, my shoulders hurt. I mean, my whole body felt like a train wreck. But it's work. So since I've been here,
So do you physically, you do it every day?
well, the way that our schedule works, we can have 2 days off a week, but we choose to have 2 half days off. So our days consist of 4 hours of farm work and 4 hours of self-directed work. So the 4 hours of farm work are tasks that needs done around the farm, cleaning, building, milking, planting, digging, all of it. Uh, just farm work. And then the other 4 hours of self-directed work can be anything that you're passionate about. So say you're passionate about mycology. We have tons of mushroom beds all over the property. So you can learn about all about mycology, or the thing that I chose was bees. We had a beekeeper here who was running classes and building boxes and having volunteers come out. And he just moved back to Texas on Sunday of last week. So now I'm the beekeeper on the property.
Wow.
I'm currently running 10 hives. I am doing a bunch of courses, reading a bunch of books. I have 2 volunteers that work with me on Wednesdays. And right now I am in the process of co-creating a curriculum. So we will do a 12-week curriculum for those who want to learn about bees. And they'll come out here to the farm 1 day a week, and I'll teach them everything they need to know about becoming a beekeeper.
Have it very quickly, I recently saw a post on Facebook about people laying in these beds where the bees are kept. It's like a casing of some sort that you lay in, and evidently it helps with healing the body and certain from the buzzing of the bees. And
Yes, I'm
do you
sure.
wanna
I'm
talk
sure
about
it's
it? Yeah.
I'm sure it's the frequency. One thing that I've been doing is meditating to the sound of bees buzzing, leading up to taking over beekeeping. And now that I'm up there with the bees quite often, I actually sit between a couple of hives as the bees are buzzing, and the frequency that they emit from their buzzing it's otherworldly. It is amazing.
I can
But
imagine.
I can see how their frequency could be healing.
So how do you keep yourself from getting bit, like stung? Do you wear?
Hold that thought.
Bee suits.
Okay, I figured maybe I didn't.
Yep.
Interesting.
Brandy's gonna be the bee whisperer, and she's gonna be
Nothing puts. I don't put anything past Brandy at all. She is so and I've become more of a daredevil, so to speak, where I just don't allow fear to take over anymore.
Yeah.
But I'm still not sure what the things that I used to aspire or think I wanted to do, that all has changed now.
Yeah.
It just really has. And that's something you mentioned earlier, Blayne, where you said you had all the the bells and whistles of life, the house, the car, whatever, all the material. And it's a pretty fascinating statement to make when you say that I had pretty much everything financially or materialistically that I wanted, and I was not happy.
No, I was miserable.
Right. And I know a lot of people that, I've come across enough people in my lifetime to know that, yes, financial freedom is something I aspire to have, because not just for myself, so that I can help other people. That's my, but I know my joy doesn't come from any of the material things that I have. And I don't have much, but I'm pretty happy cookie. you know? And I've been around people with a lot of money, and I've been around people that don't have much.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm feeling more connected to those that are rich at heart rather than have all this extravagant whatever. Because
Yeah.
it just doesn't move me. When I say move me, meaning like it's just, I admire people that work hard and all that's great. Yes. I don't get wooed so easy.
Mhm.
And and yes, I like nice things. I'm not one of these people like, oh, because I did used to, my relationship with money is much different now than it used to be. I have
Oh,
a greater respect for it. And when I say respect, meaning, because I see it as a currency, just like us, and it's an extension of our own energy and how we operate. But that doesn't mean that people that don't have money, because I think there's this misunderstanding, and maybe it's my own. I could be, not processing what I'm hearing properly, but people that have a lot of money, they hold a lot of energy, and that's why. No, I don't necessarily believe that.
no.
You understand what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
energetic part of it. And I'm
Absolutely.
still trying to get that, because I consider myself a pretty high vibe, energetic person.
Mhm.
And, um, yeah. So, anyways, I could keep going on about that, but that stood out to me what Blayne said, because I think it's true. I think people have this idea, well, look at the music videos and, billboards and the movies. Everything's about big houses, fancy cars, clothes, like all this superficial that has no value or meaning. To me, I mean,
Absolutely. It's
yeah.
all, yeah. Oh gosh.
I always
Go ahead,
like
Brandy, because I know you have, yeah.
I always like my former partner was somewhat superficial and had some pretty superficial relationships. And after I had my shift of consciousness and started becoming super aware of my language and what I talked about and how I talked about others, uh, I became really aware of people, and we used to do a lot of social functions, and the first uh, thing that I recognized is how surface level most folks are in conversation. And I don't know if it's just a matter of uncomfortability or people don't know what else to talk about, but it's always, what do you do? Right? What do you do for work? Where do you live? And usually, where do you live is so they can.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
go right into judgment, because once you know what somebody does, how much money they're making, now you've decided whether they're worthy of your time or not,
Exactly.
right? And
Yeah.
I don't believe in that nonsense,
So
and never have, and never will.
those are the people that now I avoid like the plague.
Yeah, I get it. I understand. I definitely get it. I don't see money. I used to, I was one of these people that bought into the, money's the root to all evil and this and that. And my perspective of that has changed. I think what you do with it, how you use it, if you're somebody that's power hungry and likes to manipulate and control people behind money or material gain or, that kind of thing, then, money would be a very, they, their idea or their attraction or addiction or idea of money and what it means to them would be completely different than from people like you and I and Brandy and other people that are really wanting to, shift the planet and the frequency and see that everybody has what they need, and unity and circling and bonfires and uniting and breaking bread in a way that is, an acceptance and loving kindness and compassion, and rather than all the, we can talk about religious, all the stuff, just being a decent, walk, operating from your I am presence, whatever that means for you. I know for me, be able to think for myself, make choices for myself, not have to fit in or be a part of, or in a way that I look for outside validation.
Yeah.
I don't need that. And I don't call it to me. And I don't permission it in my life. Um, yeah.
I always like based my worth on what I had.
Yeah. I
I
get
was
it. Yeah.
I was a materialistic person. When I had my awakening, it almost made me ill to look in my closet or to look at my vanity with thousands and thousands of dollars worth of makeup. And when I decided to travel to Oregon and was getting rid of everything in a 4-bedroom, 2-bath home, going through the closet and finding shoes I never wore, or $400 dresses with price tags still on them. It's just it's very it's very sickening to me the way that I used to base my worth off of what I had.
Well, that happens, Brandy, when, and I'll just say this, just from, I never had $400 dresses, right? So I'm not going to even sit here and try to claim that. But I do have family members that do well for themselves. And I used to have an issue, and I would make comments, and it wasn't out of jealousy, because I don't consider myself to be, I've experienced jealousy. I am human, but it's not my, it's not an often challenge for me, put it that way. I am so, but my point is, we date, especially women and men, but I'm speaking from a woman's perspective, especially when we've experienced sexual abuse and trauma growing up, and then, I mean, all you had to do is turn on the damn TV and see these women, and we're taught as children to aspire to be something other than ourselves.
Yes.
You must aspire to be something other than what you truly are. Okay? And that's just really what it comes down to. So you go through all these years of this indoctrination and programming, and some have been using projects and programs. I know, again, and I'm not fully completely understanding or understanding of what I was involved in, but I got a good idea, enough to say, okay, I need to be super conscious of my own thoughts and how I operate and how I react, or how I respond rather than react, and all the things that come along with shadow work and really being very present with ourselves. But we've been taught our whole life to be everything other than what we are.
Yeah.
Whether, even if you weren't sexually abused and all those things, like there's a program running, or many programs running, that if you just sit back for a minute and just observe, it's pretty mind blowing.
Oh, it is.
And then to watch the youngins, I see them and how they buy into it. Mm-hmm. And they have to have the $200, Michael Jordan, or the whatever it is, put themselves in debt to the point where, they want to drive a $20,000 car, let's say, and they're living in the basement of their parents' house with all this, whatever it is. It's just, yeah. So
it's crazy.
I'm not.
I have not watched TV in almost 2 years, and we took a little trip and got a hotel room, and I decided to turn the television on. So I'm flipping through, and I stopped, and it was on The Dark Knight Rises, one of the Batman movies from 2012.
Okay.
And I'm attempting to watch this movie, but was unable to do so because It was programming after programming after programming. 2012, they're talking about in the movie, talking about you need to wear a mask, and it's not for you, it's to protect everybody else.
Oh yeah.
So they've
Oh,
been
it starts long before they.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And when Batman said, you need to wear the mask to protect the others, not yourself. And he had this ball in his hand and he went to throw it and it looked just like CV, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. We won't. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
But yeah, looked just like a cell.
I got you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's
2012,
yeah.
8 years ago.
A lot of that. I mean, there's so much now that has come out about just everything, the things that we're aware of, all the nonsense that's going on the planet, the president, the election, all of it. I'm at the point, it's not about sticking my head in the sand, Blayne. It's like, I just don't entertain the nonsense anymore. Like, I go about my day, I do what I need to do to keep myself in check, to walk in integrity, to make the highest and best choices for myself. I'm kind of like in between, I feel like the universe has got me at a standstill right now, preparing me for whatever my next journey is going to be, so to speak, or what it is that's prepared for me to do here, my divine path. I believe I'm already doing those things, but I think more will show itself and reveal itself as I continue to stay focused and be earnest in my intention and continue to be the best, reach my highest potential. And that's all we can do every day, is just make, the best choices for ourselves. And sometimes it's just simply sitting and breathing, going for a walk, eating the fruit instead of the candy bar, like simple lessons that are, it doesn't have to be some huge, magnanimous, thing. We can hold the door for an elderly, my aunt called me, can you come take me somewhere before the show? Like, nope, I have a show, Aunt Ida. And I was like, nope, I'll be there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just the simple things that we can say yes to be in service and help without compromising ourselves or feeling like, we're always saying yes. Like, finding the balance is my point. Not being, because especially when you go through, being a people pleaser has been a huge thing for me, like trying to find my way. I've never considered myself to be a people pleaser, but I do overextend myself. And I have come to understand that is also toxic. Overextending myself.
Yep.
And I'm learning to, pick and choose. Okay, is it something you really want to do, Ida? Are you truly doing it out of kindness and, and I am a Pleiadian Lemurian, and I know a little bit about the characteristics of a Pleiadian. I'm not going to, what's the word I want to use? I know that I've been influenced by a lot of different star nations or star people or whatever. We all have. I believe we all come from the stars. So, but I definitely have certain characteristics about myself that I recognize from doing a little research to say, okay, I can identify with that. That makes sense. And we are very kind, giving beings, Pleiadians. Not, and that doesn't mean, because I'm also learning, like, I don't know. I think, didn't you mention that you are Arcturian? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So, I was going somewhere with that, Brandy, and now we just have different characteristics, my point. But I think in a couple years, like within a couple years and probably less, everybody's those that are on the awakening and look to go within and remember and unveil our own hearts, to activate our own DNA and to heal our own bodies and to take full responsibility and master ourselves and self-actualize fully.
Connect to our
We, without a doubt, more and more people are going to wake up to this realization that, that we are more than just these human vessels, or, some of us have AI that runs through us. I'm one of them. I'm very open about that. And I'm okay with that. But we're going to come together, those that are really here for this opening up to the family of humankind and unity and love and wholeness, and to operate from our hearts rather than, this 3D matrix programming whirlwind. It's a constant, it's like get off the roller coaster. You get off, you remember those, what are they called, the little thing, they had them at the parks, you jump on and spin the thing around.
Merry-go-round.
Merry-go-round, I couldn't think of it. You get tired of it and you're like, I gotta get off from it, I need a break. Well, then you get to the point where you're like, I'm not getting back on that thing. It's not fun.
Yeah, that's exactly why we're here.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny yesterday when we went to a meeting, NA meeting in Portland, and kind of shared a little, hey, I'm from Florida, just moved here, lived on a self-sustained farm, blah, blah, blah. So after the meeting, we walked out to the parking lot, and this guy approached us, and he was like, so you broke out of the matrix, huh? We were like, yes, we did. That's the whole part.
Well, I think what happens, Brandy, is, and this is just for me, and I'm not suggesting, it's like you break through one level,
yes,
and you realize you're in another level.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, this is another program, like the love and light, and everything is, that's a whole nother, because everything for some are not all love and light. I mean, you can get to a place where you master yourself, where things aren't having the effect on you that they may have had at one time, but there's a constant shedding of the next thing. And what do you think about that?
As more and more people wake up, they're going to be coming back to what we're doing now. We're having so many people reach out constantly for positions here on the farm. We just had a husband and wife and their 16-year-old son come out for the weekend to do kind of like an interview, I guess, to see if they're energetic, an energetic fit for the farm. So I believe, like you said, as the awakening process happens, yes, there are levels that you break through, levels of breakthrough.
Breakthroughs. That's right. We have different at different times. So you guys don't get paid to work.
Our pay is lodge and all of the fresh produce and organic produce and meats we can eat. So,
and do you have your own living quarters, like your own room? And
we do, yes. When we first got here, when we were first accepted, we thought we were going to have to live in a tent. There was no open space, existing space. At that time, the farm was full, but they really wanted us here. It was just the perfect energetic fit. So we were going to stay in a tent until we built a tree house. So when we arrived, there was a cabin it's still dirt floors, had a loft, roughed in, that we were able to make livable, and we lived there for a month. And then a couple had separated from the farm, and a real living space opened up. So now we have a living space with sleeping area, living area, full kitchen. So it's really nice.
Nice, very nice, Brandy.
Yeah, we just recently went and surveyed the land and found where we're going to build our tree house. So we've roped off the 4 trees, and hopefully within the next week or so, we're going to start setting posts and breaking ground to build our tree house.
That's so freaking exciting.
Yeah, it is.
That's amazing. I would love to. I've seen some amazing tree houses. I
Oh
don't know.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
This
That's-
one's going to be amazing, and I know
Yeah.
that you're just going to keep adding on to it and adding on to it and adding on to it. So
That's amazing.
yeah,
That's
I have
awesome.
a basic. I have a kind of a floor plan picked out. I'll send you a picture of it when we're done.
Well, do that. So, is it? Are you gonna have a guest room?
We're gonna have guest
We're
space.
going to have guest space.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love
Absolutely.
to. Yeah. Well, I
Absolutely.
definitely want to come out and check out what y'all are doing. I don't have no problem. I mean, I don't know, probably wear my butt out too, working in the farm and doing all that stuff. But
Yeah, it will, but this farm does so many fabulous things that I mean, I can't even begin. Like, let me give you one example. So, like, Jersey cows are bred specifically for their milk. They have a very high cream content. So, as you know, male calves don't produce milk. So when male Jersey cows are born, what they would do is just incinerate them, burn them alive. So they would burn greenhouse gases.
oh
and
my, I
burn
didn't
these
know
cows.
that. It's I don't even. Yeah.
So what this farm does is they have set up like a deal with the local dairy farm. And when the Jersey cows are born, we get them at 1 day old and bottle feed them and raise them and like their pets until it's their time to go. And then when it's their time to go, they harvest the meat and give it back to the community.
Wow.
So we have a food pantry here, and 50% of everything from the farm goes back to the food pantry. Yeah, probably more than that. And then there's what they call waste streams. So it's ways to make money off other people's trash. So there's a company that goes to grocery stores and picks up the rotten produce.
Wow.
So what they do is they pick it up from the grocery store and take it to the dump. Well, the owner of the farm has set it up to where instead of going to the dump, they bring the pallets here. And then we have community members come out and we do what we call gleaning. So in these cases of pallets and cases of produce, you can go through them and a third of it will be bad and 2/3 of it will still be perfect in great shape. So we go through and separate the good from the bad. The bad goes and feeds the animals on the farm, and the good goes back to the community.
I mean, more places need to be set up like this.
Absolutely.
How many people that are homeless people that can get fed and learn skill sets and build community and
It blew my mind to see the amount of produce that is brought to this farm that is taken from the grocery stores because
I'm sure I can imagine.
A few pieces in the case are bad.
Yeah.
We also have a system set up with multiple Whole Foods markets around this area. And 3 days a week, we go to Whole Foods and pick up the items of foods that are about to expire. So, like organic chicken, organic pork, all of this organic meat, it just says freeze by this date. It doesn't mean it's going to go bad. So we bring that here, and the community comes and through the gleaning process of cleaning the produce, the bad and good produce, they get to take whatever they want from the Whole Food shipments that comes as well.
Right. What
so
a fabulous
we're giving back to
system.
the community.
Yeah.
We're working with veterans. The farm is partnered with the local VA hospital here in Portland. And we have veterans come out here and do sort of like what we're doing, but more like not a work trade program, but just coming out here and getting their hands dirty and being with community and being around other fellow veterans who have suffered trauma, who are on a path to healing, to see that there is hope.
Yes. Do you guys like gather? Do you have gatherings and do things together, or?
We do. Every morning we have a morning meeting around the campfire. We call it coffee time. That's when we talk about the plans for the day and discuss if anybody's having any issues or any emotions that they're having difficulty moving through, we discuss that. We do meditation. Sometimes we play games. And then we also do a community potluck at least once a week. During the warmer season, it's more like 2 or 3 times a week or more, but it's at least once a week we do a community potluck. So we're always together.
That's awesome. That's fabulous, Brandy.
Yeah.
I want to bring you guys back on. Well, I want this to reach, I'm wondering how to reach more veterans that may be interested in this project that you're involved in. I mean, we need more places. Every state should
Have
doing stuff.
yeah,
Yes.
this is what we need.
I mean, the model that you guys are operating from, I mean,
It's
it would be nice
beautiful.
to get them going in other places. And that's something that maybe, something will arise, because I know there's humanitarian projects that will be funded.
Oh yes,
Are being funded and will be
They are.
funded in a bigger way, yes. To get some places like this going. I mean, I'm all for it. And, if I have my way, I want to be able to support people like yourself. And, well, I want to get my hands dirty too. I'm not looking to sit back and I want to get involved. So we're going to go ahead. It's 8:53. So we'll end the show at 9:00. It's 7 minutes or so. If there's any final things that you guys would like to share, any information, share your contact information if you don't mind, if you want to.
Yep, I'm on Facebook. I don't have a Twitter account anymore at the moment, but I'm on Facebook. It's my name. I don't think I know, because I've done a thorough search. There's no other spelling and no other person with my same name. So it's BLAYNE LANNAN. And I guess that would be I'm hesitant to give out my phone number. If you're interested in if you're interested in intentional community and being involved in one, or you want more information, contact me on Facebook.
There you go. Very
I'll
good.
give you my email address for my business. It's sacredlifehealing@gmail.com. I can also be found on Facebook. It's under Brandy Taylor. Yeah, I'll have curly. No, I don't have curly hair in my profile pic. I think I have blue hair.
Yeah, I was surprised, but I love it.
I do. I like it.
Yeah, it's adorable on you. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for coming on, being guests. I think we got a lot of information. We definitely covered a lot of different topics, more than what and maybe in a couple months, of course, we'll be in touch through Facebook. If there's anything that comes up, or any information that you guys, or a topic that you guys, think would be a good thing, we can maybe discuss on our next show. I'll probably wait a couple months and then contact you about coming back on, or if there's anything that you come across in the information that you want, you'd like to be able to share and want a platform to do that, a bigger platform, I would be more than happy to bring you back on. But keep me updated. I'm definitely interested. So
I will. And if you have anybody reach out to you regarding information about the farm, right now we're just not comfortable giving the name of the farm like on a public platform. But if you reach out to us, well, we can talk.
Sure, I know there's some vetting that needs to be done before.
Yeah,
I understand.
But if anybody reaches out to you wanting information regarding intentional community or what we are doing here at this farm, you can give them my contact information as well.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Brandy.
Love you, Ida. Thank you very much for having us on.
I appreciate you. Very good. And I'll send this once I get it uploaded to the channel. You can share it. Yeah.
Please do. I'll try to find some veteran pages to post it on.
Very good. Thank you. Have a blessed evening. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.